Lynn, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How did you get into theater?
Well, I've actually been acting in one sense or another since I could walk.
Wow.
So
your family was into it?
No, I've always been told that it was just second nature for me.
Uh-huh.
And if an occasion required having someone perform, they called on me from the time I was just
From very small.
Very small, whether it was family functions, church functions, school functions. Of course, I got into community theater in Indianapolis as a teenager and did a couple of productions, and but never really studied theater.
Really?
Just no. Just
so you have a natural, but your family's not into it.
No,
your family's not into it.
No, absolutely
Really?
not. But I do feel like I was born to do this.
Did your parents ever come to see you? Of course, or no?
Actually, my mother never did get a chance to see me. My dad, fortunately, got to come here to the Crighton to watch me in All My Sons, which was one of my favorite roles. And I did not know he was coming. And that's a funny story. You know, we go out front and shake hands, right? Yeah. I'm shaking hands, and I look up and I think to myself, that old man looks an awful lot like my dad. That old man is my dad.
Wow.
He had gotten on a plane and flown down here from Indianapolis, Indiana.
And decided to surprise you.
And it was all surprise. My kids were in on it. And so anyway, so that was, and he's passed now, so was my mother. So that was special for me.
So why didn't your mother get to see you?
I don't know if it's because growing up, they just always knew I was doing this, but it never seemed like a big deal to them. This was just something she ran off and, or not ran off, but went off and did. And just, now I know when I was in the Golden Heirs drill team, or on the Golden Heirs drill team in high school, Mother would come to watch those, but she never did come and watch me in a performance. But I feel like she's up there.
She's watching you anyway.
She's had a few front row seats lately. So.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But so you didn't even study it in high school?
No, did not. I got into a couple of productions.
Right.
But didn't study it. No.
Right. So college? No, nothing there either.
No.
Mm-mm. So what is it that's in you that you find, that attracts, the acting? Because you've done everything. You've done just about everything.
Yes,
acting, directing, behind the stage.
I've cleaned toilets all the way up.
That's right.
All the way up to directing and acting and stage manager and lights and sound and all of it. So, prop mistress. I don't know. It's just in my blood. In every pore of my being. My husband, who has also passed away, used to kid me and say, I think if they'd let you set up a cot, you would just move in. And he trust me, he didn't resent that at all. He became very astute at running my lines, and he soon took on characters, and he had a good time with it. But anybody who knows me for more than 5 minutes knows that this is just what I love to do. That's all.
I know you worked a lot with kids as well. And of course, it seems like, kids now have so many other things that they can do that isn't interacting with people, usually interacting with technology or something like that.
Exactly, absolutely.
So what do you think we can do to help get more kids to love theater?
I don't know what we can do to get them to love theater, really. I do know from my experience with children, the minute 99.9% of them, the minute you get them in and get them involved in something, they're hooked. As human beings, I don't care about what technology is out there, we long for that human interaction. And that's what theater is all about. That's all it's about, is human interaction on every level. So, if we can just get them here, but how do we get them here? We just make it available, which we do. And I find that friends tell their friends, and that's really about all we can do.
What are your favorite roles?
I have to say, at the top of my list was the Dowager Empress in Anastasia, because it was my first standing ovation. Wow. And it wasn't even at the end of an act or a scene.
Ooh, sweet.
Kathy Costas would not like me telling this story. She played Anastasia, and as we finished our scene together, I got up, okay. And as I turned to leave the stage with my back to the audience, I heard this eruption.
Whoa.
And they came to their feet. And at that moment, Anastasia is supposed to end that scene by throwing herself on the stage floor, screaming in Russian for her sisters. Right. So she had to hold that. her most dramatic scene.
Just wait.
And she had to hold it. So, you've got to know that that was just a special moment that'll stay a special moment in my heart forever. Yeah. But beyond that, I've experienced some wonderful comedic roles and dramatic roles, and I would be hard pressed to say, really. Just had so many Cemetery Club and All My Sons and Glass Menagerie, which was a wonderful experience for me. It was so cathartic. My husband passed away 2 weeks before the auditions. Ooh. And so I thought, well, I can't think of a better way to get me through than to play Amanda if I possibly could in Glass Menagerie. And thanks to a wonderful director, Paul Sidenblad, I had the opportunity, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Paul was a good director.
We
miss him.
Yes, we do miss Paul. Something awful. Yeah, great guy and a good director. Oh, absolutely.
Goodness. So do you prefer comedy over drama, or do you have...
No, I like them both.
You really like them
both?
I
absolutely. Yes, because you get to put on a whole different suit for each one. I mean, timing timing's obviously key on stage, period. But the different techniques of timing and so forth it's just total different ends of the spectrum for drama and for comedy. But I just love conquering both. Yes.
Well, I mean, some people have a knack for timing in the comedy and drama too, and some of that takes a lot more learning and observation and stuff like that. So how do you teach timing to someone else, or someone that's asked you, like, how do I'm not getting this, how do I learn this timing?
When we're teaching acting, we're teaching you to be in the moment and listening. Acting is not acting, it's being in the moment and reacting with your timing for drama, and that's most especially really for comedy, is that same relationship with your audience. If you really are in tune, and of course you're having to, do double duty because you're having to do the acting, being there in the moment, but you have to be there in the moment with the audience too, because you can just sense if they're going to erupt in laughter, and you need to know that. You just do. Yes, you do. On the other hand, being live theater and people being people, what was funny last night to this audience may not be so funny tonight to this audience. So you can't present it every night the same way, thinking, oh, I got a great laugh on this one, so I'm going to dance, that way. You have to be in sync with that audience, and you'll be able to just feel in the air if that something is going to get a reaction. And if it's not, then you better be ready to smoothly go right on over it into, and keep going. Right. And if you can do that without the audience realizing that's what you've done, you've hit the nail on the head. And it's experience. And again, it's feeling. It's just feeling the molecules in the air.
Oh, no, there's definitely a rapport between
there is.
The good actor and what's going on in that audience. Absolutely. Comedy or drama.
Absolutely.
Well, that's kind of interesting. You said you hadn't, at least earlier on, you hadn't done formal training, but you just mentioned essentially a Meisner technique, being in the moment. Do you have a preferred technique that you prefer when you act?
Since I'm not trained or educated, I don't know if I do. I just know that it's all about feeling it. And for me, it happens when I put the costume on, get the hair, the makeup, and walk out on that stage. It just sort of just happens. Now, I love the rehearsal process, probably as much, if not more, than the actual performance.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yes. I could rehearse till the cows come home.
So what do you do in a rehearsal that makes it enjoyable for you?
just getting the feel for the other people that you're interacting with, getting a feel for that character, knowing that there's a million different ways to say that line, to receive that line, to interpret that line, trying them all out, seeing what works for the person you're with, what sparks for them.
Right.
And you'll use that because, you always want to make the person you're working with, you both want to keep, cause each other to continue to grow and rise and so forth. So that's why I like the rehearsal process.
That's why.
Yeah, I just love it.
Do you see, because you've done this for some time too, but it seems like we've seen a definite shift in dedication to the craft. And I mean in the community theater. Do you see that too?
I do.
And it seems like rehearsal, why do I need to show up for rehearsal? Kind of thing.
I know.
Attitude. And I'm not saying that it hasn't always, but it seems like there's a definite shift over the years.
But I think that must be a carryover from the everyday life too. There's not the same dedication to a regimen of life, period.
Absolutely.
It's a cum say, cum sa kind of thing. Today I'll do this, or, give this 5 minutes because I'm going to give this 5 minutes. And we're all seem to be more splintered.
Yes.
And which I just, I'm 65 years old. When I say that, I think that just sounds so old. I don't know what that means, 65 anymore, but I am 65. And I've got grandchildren that are ranged in the age from 7 to 25. And I see how they are living their life so much differently than how than their parents, my children. And of course, to them, it's normal. They don't know any differently, So I'm just going to hope somehow it'll all work itself out that the stage especially will still call out for people to be a part of it, and people who really want to be a part of it will be.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite actor or actress that you like to watch?
I am a huge fan of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Really?
I am. I watch him. When I watch any movie,
right.
I watch the actor act. I watch what he or she is doing. And he does to me what an actor is supposed to do. He just immerses himself. You're not seeing Leonardo DiCaprio up there doing these lines, and he actually becomes that person. And I've heard people say, he's, and I'm thinking, you're saying that because he makes it look so easy, and you're not realizing the work.
Right.
And the dedication that he goes through to make it look that easy. And to be that good. But he is good. And he loves it. Now, if you've ever heard him interviewed, he gets as excited as I'm sitting here getting excited about acting.
About acting?
Oh, yes. Really? And he's been that way, he said, all his life.
Right. So that's his passion. Yeah.
It is his passion. And that's what comes through.
But it should be, yeah.
And that's what comes through. If you're passionate about anything you do, it's going to come through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about it. I mean, there's certain actors that, yes, I enjoy watching them, but it's really the same person, just in a different...
That's right.
Like Tom Cruise. I enjoy watching Tom Cruise, but pretty much it's Tom Cruise as whatever.
That's right.
Alan Alda. Love Alan Alda, but it's Alan Alda as,
Always Alan Alda.
Right. You know what I'm talking about,
I do.
Right.
I absolutely do. And...
That's supposed to Meryl Streep was like, who the heck is that comedian?
That's exactly right. Again, there's a lady who knows how to put on a character and become that person, and does it so magnificently. Yes.
So what do you do when you're not at the theater?
Oh, I work.
Do what?
I'm a legal secretary.
Legal? Uh-huh. And how long have you been doing that?
Well, I've been a legal secretary, I guess almost 10 years. Prior to that, I worked for the city of Houston in the mayor's office and in the city controller's office.
Wow, yeah.
For about 15 years. And, just politics also is a passion of mine.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you get into that? You go actually hawk different candidates? Or...
I did. I used to. I don't do that anymore. But when I worked in the mayor's office, of course, I was very much a part of her campaign. I worked for Mayor Whitmire, and I was very much a part of all of her campaigns. And I worked for George Grenius and a part of his. And And again, it was a passion. I feel like at least for me, if I'm going to, I put myself 100% into whatever it is I'm going to do, love it. And so that's my background.
So how do we get more people to be interested in local politics? So that's hard. If we get 2 or 3 people, 2% or 3% at a bond election, ooh, that's a big deal.
For politicians, quite frankly, to quit acting like politicians when they get out there. That's the only way you're going to get people interested. If people that are going to run for office would get out there as a member of the community versus I'm running for office, which is why I'm here at your event, or why I'm going to kiss the babies today, or dig a shovel of dirt here today. If they actually be set out to be a part of the community before even announcing their candidacy, and find something they're passionate about, and not just being a candidate. There's a difference between a statesman and a politician. And we don't have many of those anymore. I'll never forget, I was doing Oliver here. I was in the chorus of Oliver. This has been, 20 years ago. And there was a young man also in the chorus who was on his way to college. And I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, I want to be a politician. I said, you don't go to college to be a politician. So I gave him a whole, about an hour's worth of, slapping him around about that's not a job goal kind of thing, and it just isn't. The politician is what you have to be elected to help people and do things for your community. And if you don't have that in your heart already. And I think people are a little bit sour on that. I think they see the politician first before they see the human being. And I think that's the human being's fault.
Is part of that because we don't feel like we make a difference, even when we do get involved?
I can't say that because I know we make a difference.
Right.
I know
we
make a difference.
Well, you were actively part of campaigns.
Yes,
so you could
and
see
I do know we make a difference. But have we over the years, have has our political structure sort of made people feel that way? Yes. Yes. It's become so expensive.
Oh, yes.
To be a candidate.
Yes.
I'm sure if somebody was sitting here saying, well, honey, I'd love nothing better than to just put my heart into it, but got to have that, the green stuff along with it. Right. So, there's a little bit of cynicism about that, which you can't get around, So I don't know what the answer is. As a human race, we'll continue on, and I guess we'll just make the best of whatever day we're living in.
Well, it's kind of interesting, because in the U.S., I guess we feel that we can kind of delegate this. We don't. It's all right. Yeah, I guess they can do it. Maybe that's the cop out. We just say, we don't really need to get involved because it'll be all right, or I can't make a difference, or whatever, or we're too busy. Whatever the reason, excuse, let's say, that we come up with. But we don't seem to get involved. I mean, I used to work elections, and that was really neat. To work elections, the old days when you actually had to account for every ballot.
Oh,
if you were missing a ballot, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I've been there and done that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that was neat, but I guess it's a little different now. They have all these little electronic booths. You just push a few buttons. And
I think if I was going to talk to groups of people at the corner drugstore or whatever, I would say what we don't realize is that making a difference doesn't mean you've got to go march on Washington to get your point across. It means if your child comes home from school, for instance, and tells you some things that are going on at school, and you listen to them a few times, and after about the 5th time you hear this, you think, you know what, that's not right.
Right.
Something's not right here. So you just call up the school and you make an appointment to talk to the principal. And that's where it starts.
Right.
Go in and talk to that principal and get an idea of what's going on and why this is happening. I guarantee you're going to get information you never even, and that's exactly right. But it's a start.
Yes.
It is a start.
Yes.
And that's where you have to start. You have to be interested enough to want to find out why something is like it is, if that something doesn't sit well with you. Because very seldom do we want to find out what something is if it sits well with us. No,
it's fine. It's not broke.
That's right. But if it's affecting us or our children or our spouse or our parent, somebody close to us in a negative way, then go find out why.
Sure.
That's the first step.
Do you have any places that you like to travel to?
I've not done much traveling. I tell you what, though, I did go to Hawaii, and oh my goodness gracious. Went to Kauai.
Yes, yep.
Okay, which is the littlest island.
That's where Jeff Elkins is, I think.
Yes, that's where Jeff Elkins is, absolutely. I can't tell you the number of folks I ran into, not locals, who said, I came over here to visit and went back and packed everything I had and said, to heck with it, I'm coming back here.
It's amazing, interesting that you mentioned that, because the authors of the play that you're in right now, the Jones, Hoop and Luton, they love Kauai. They must have been there about 20 times. They say, you've got to go there. People fall in love with this place.
It is. As soon as you get off the plane, your blood pressure drops, 20, 25 points. And you just immediately take on you become a different person. Mm-hmm. You do. Mm-hmm. They have roosters there. Yeah. And my understanding is it's the only one in the chain of islands that has the roosters. Right. And they're welcome every place. If you're sitting there eating in a restaurant, you look down, here's these roosters walking around.
You don't touch them? Yeah.
No, there they are. And I was told that they get picked up by the way the hurricanes come around. They're from Fiji or someplace else, and then they're dropped there. Yeah. And that's how they got there. I don't know if that's true. Sounds good to me. It's a nice story. But anyway, yes, and yes, I do hope to go back there. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. Are there any roles that you'd like to play that you haven't played yet?
Any roles that I would like to play that I haven't played yet? Well, there is a non-musical, straight play, Sunset Boulevard. Yes. And I would love to do that.
The non-musical version.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not a singer, honey. Trust me. I've done my bit in the chorus a few times, but I'm not a.
Yeah, but but actually, that's not my favorite musical anyway. I think the straight play would be awesome.
But yes, I would love to do that. And I'm certainly getting old enough to do it. So. No. But, I mean, from the time you're, at least in my era, this high, you grow up, I'm ready for my close-up. That line. So, yes, I that's, but other than that, I don't know. I like taking on any part that anybody will give me. I don't care. Mm-hmm.
When you take on a directing role, how do you approach the script?
How do I approach the script? I don't approach the script. The script approaches me.
Really? Yeah. Yes. So it just grabs
It does. It does. I read a script and I can see who these characters are, what their personalities are like, where they're moving, what they're doing, what their relationship is. It becomes almost a movie for me.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you see it all up here.
I do.
You see it
I
up
absolutely
there, right?
do. Mm-hmm.
Casting. That's got to be an interesting part.
But you know what I think is phenomenal? Not just when I'm directing, but every director I know has said after either midway through a show or after the show, we just really lucked out. All of these people just came together. And that does happen with us. Mm-hmm. We're so fortunate. I know we've had some shows where people have had to, get on the phone, maybe call a few people because, whatever, beat the bushes for a character or two. Yeah. But most often, it just seems to happen for us. So I don't know. We're blessed in that respect.
Actually, we're blessed. I don't know if you've traveled to other places where they have community theater. It's very different. Let's just put it that way. It can be very different. And I appreciate their efforts and stuff like that, but it is very different.
No, we're very, very blessed, and we really do a bang-up job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody said that, a long time ago in the Houston area, and you've probably seen this too also with community theaters. There used to be a lot less opportunity for community theater.
Yes.
And so there were a lot more people that would come out. Actually, now it seems like there's so much opportunity that people kind of, they're kind of diffused, all these different places. Because really, Houston has a lot of community theater.
They really do. But it just goes to show you how many people out there are wanting to have this experience. And And it's the old adage too, you know, you put word out there about a particular show, and some shows they're just going, that's, you know, a particular kind of show or show will draw from all corners.
Yes.
You know? So, you know, you take something like West Side Story.
Yep.
You know, people, you know, kids grow up or teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, I want to.
Or Grease, which is
Grease, exactly.
I compare it to. I want to do Grease. I want to do Grease. People, it's in there.
Sure,
right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How do you tell the people that, you know, they can't be part of the show? That's the hardest.
The only part I don't like.
I hate that part. I
usually relegate that to my assistant director. No, I'm only kidding you. I've been involved around here now for 25 years, I guess it's been. And through a million different directors, and everybody has their own way. And some directors do relegate that to their assistant director. Some directors will say, if you haven't heard from me by Thursday, then I'm sorry, it means you didn't get the part. Right. And that, quite frankly, is kind of what I go for. As an actor, I know that too. I mean, we all audition on Sunday and Monday.
Right.
Callbacks are usually Tuesday or Wednesday. And by Thursday, the cast is, you know, because you got to get moving. You don't have a week to.
And especially now, you start hearing things.
Yes,
Facebook
exactly.
or whatever.
Right.
Like, oh, you got a role. I haven't heard anything.
Yes, so, you know, and I'm okay with that. As an actor, I don't want the director stressing over, you know, how to tell me I didn't get the part. Yeah, I guess
the production, because you've also done production stuff behind. I mean, you said you've done costumes and props and all that stuff. Set, probably the more underappreciated parts of production. You know, they don't get the accolades like you do on stage. I mean, admittedly, it's a different effort, of course, but still, no, they don't get that.
No, they don't. And
and it's important.
It is. I have a small group of women that we hang out a lot, and you know, we used to be called the exercise group, the ladies who exercise. Now we're the ladies who don't exercise but sure eat a lot. But anyway, I digress. But since we've been together as a group, which has been about 7 years now, they feel like they've gone through the different productions with me when I've been directing. And they were the first to admit, you know, we used to just go plop our heinies in the seat and the curtain would go up and there's all this beautiful stuff sitting there. We just think, okay, let's go. And the show would begin. It never occurred to us the amount of time and work and mental and emotional whatever.
Investment, that goes into it, right? Because a part of you does go.
Oh, my goodness.
Especially if somebody says, now, why did they choose this or that? And you just, it's like,
exactly.
Because every one of those decisions, you know, you had to make. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right to, you know, that little picture on that wall over there. I mean, there was a reason and some, you know, maybe some sleepless nights over that one little picture. So that has made me feel good that these women have come around to a little bit understanding of what goes into an actual production. So, yeah. But on the other hand, you know what? We're in the business to create a whole beautiful night's worth of entertainment for somebody. And if they'll come out of there smiling and enjoying themselves, that's, you know, what more could you ask for? It's worth it.
What's the last film you saw?
Last film I saw, I guess, actually was, help me, Bradley Cooper. And,
you saw the Silver Lining?
Was
it good? Yeah.
Yes. A wonderful movie. Absolutely a great movie. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it. I don't mean, you know, Jennifer Lawrence only by reputation from Hunger Games, but she won the Academy Award, of course. Supposedly, you know, incredible job. Now, I catch up on films on the airplane, unfortunately.
Oh.
I just don't get around to it.
The thing that was so good about this film, and you don't see it so much in films, a lot of times it's not just spoon-fed to you. It's
right.
But because this has to do with mental illness, and three of the characters, Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, and Robert De Niro, all have peculiarities.
Right.
And the director the director took great pain in, when you're sitting there watching that, well, let's just say that when it's over, you need a drink. Even if you don't drink, you want to drink. Because these, and you don't even realize that you have been affected by for what's affecting these people until the movie's over.
Wow.
But you're just hanging in there with them. And you're so drawn in. And I will always say that a director, whether it's on stage or in the movie, those are the people. They are. I mean, you got to have good actors. You got to have this good script and all that. But as I tell my cast, if it's a flop, it's my fault. If it's great, you guys get the accolades, and I'm fine with that. Yeah. I'm fine with that. But the director is really huge.
Wow.
And this director for this did a fantastic job. Really got these characters to, to pull.
Well, that's awesome, because I could say that there's probably only a film every decade or so that comes along that touches you that way. I'm not saying enjoy it. Touches you, and it almost changes you, which is what it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely!
In these couple of hours that you watched the film,
it absolutely did. Yeah, it was. There was some rawness there that sometimes you thought, "Gosh, I don't know if I should be a part of this or not," but but it was for the director to be able to have for the actors to have had the confidence to be able to do what the director was asking them to do. That's rich. That's rich.
When you're directing, and of course, in community theater, we try to get people to learn it and to push themselves. How far can you make people go to get that part just right?
Well,
I mean, we're not going to make anybody do something they don't want to do, of course, or that's unethical. But
I don't know.
How far?
The first time I directed, we did a series of one acts for new directors, and I directed something called Ladies of the Mob, which Amy was in, by the way. And Brenda, I can't think of Brenda's last name. I had her. We had the steps at the front of the stage rather than on the side, so I had her go up the steps. And Brenda was a little bit of a large lady, and she had on these bright print pants, tight, and I had her bend over. And all of this was facing the audience. Right. And she told me after that first rehearsal where I had her do that, she said, I would not have done that for anybody else and exposed myself like that, so vulnerable. Right. But she said, you made me feel it was not only okay, but I realized it was my character doing that and not me, and that it wasn't going to gross out the audience. Right. And so... as a burgeoning director, you got to know that made me feel very, very good to get that kind of feedback. You just have to. I don't know how you really do it, but you don't give up. I can tell you that.
Well, you obviously made her feel safe.
I did.
So she had a safe place, so she could do that.
Exactly. You do make them feel safe, and you do make them understand. If they can just get past that feeling that it isn't them, that it is their character, and their character is just free to do anything without any repercussions coming back to them, the person. And that's, once you can do that, and like you said, just making them, you're right, safe, that's the exact word. Yeah.
And that's tough. That can be tough because sometimes people they're just not ready. Do you know
what the hardest thing is? If you've got a group scene, you've got your group, dispersed across the stage, and for the majority of that scene, you've only got 2 or 3 people interacting, and you've got 3 or 4 else standing around. Right. Those are the folks you have to really work. Right. Not the ones that are actually doing the stuff, because they're going to get that, just by doing it. But boy, do you have to take time to get the person sitting over at the next to the end table, that just kind of sips a drink and then files their nail. I mean, you really have to. And what I always tell them is, remember that at any given point, somebody in that audience is looking at you. Their attention has gone away from the action over here, and
Right.
they've decided to sweep the stage. And if you're sitting there and you're going to take a little drink and then file your nails, they're going to watch you.
Right.
They are going to watch you. So, you know,
Right.
and that's to get them to be a real part of that scene and to care what's going on with
Right.
the action, to really care, you know, without taking away from it. Boy,
Right.
is that a...
Well, it's an interesting thing, especially for first timers,
Oh,
to realize
gosh,
that
yes.
just because you have no lines, or even if you did have a line and something in between, that sometimes there's as much, if not more, importance to what isn't said than what is said.
Oh, you say
Right,
it,
but
yes,
you want something, because you're trying to get the right balance. You don't, like you said, don't take away focus, but at the same time still be in the moment. Whatever it is they do, just because they're standing there, they're really probably not just standing there.
Exactly. Absolutely, absolutely, and give them permission to move. You know,
Right.
your butt's not glued to that chair. You can get up and go over and look out the window. You know, as long as you make reason and da 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 da. You know, with character and all that. So that's fun.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. And then, boy, when they get it and it all comes together, and you see this as a wonderful full scene. Wow.
It is. Well, I know you need to get ready, so
Yes,
I'm going to ask you that question we've been asking everyone. If heaven exists, what do you want God to say when you get to the pearly gates?
I just want him to say, I want him to say my name. I want him to say, I'm happy to see you, Terry Lynn. That's it.
And give you a hug?
And oh, yes. And a hug.
And a hug. Yeah.
And a hug.
And
But
a hug.
to say your name, I think we all like to hear our names said. You know, I like to, hi, Steve, how are you? Then just say, hey, how are you?
That's right.
It's when you say someone's name, you have a personal connection. So for all of our lives, we've had a connection with God that's been however we've made it. So if I can be in front of him and he can say my name, then he's made a connection with me too. So we're good.
Terry Lynn, thanks so much for being
You're
with us.
welcome. Thank you very much.